Hey guys, Middle Jesus here, and occasionally I like to cover some of the weirder, wackier aspects of retro gaming, and today's video is going to be no exception to that. Recently I got these USB sticks from China that are labeled, they're weird. They're labeled meth, crack, weed. And, you know, the reason why I wanted to talk about these, quite frankly, is not because I think you should go out and buy these. Oh, no. But they're actually a good idea. It's kind of a missed opportunity when it comes to Sony and what they could have done with the PlayStation Classic. If you remember that mini console that came out a couple years ago, they could have done something like this. But no, it had to be this third-party company from China with these wacky products, and so I just could not help myself. I had to order them. Now, as a refresher, the Sony PlayStation Classic came out a couple years ago at the height when a lot of companies were putting out these mini consoles, these celebrations of, you know, classic consoles from the 80s and 90s, and this was no exception. However, it was met with fairly mediocre reviews. I was one of those YouTubers where I was just like, man, this collection of games is pretty weak. And the choice of even the region of games that they put on there was really bizarre. They had some PAL games that were included on there, and they ran slower than they should have been. It was just almost like Sony didn't really put a lot of thought into it. Not like somebody like Nintendo or, you know, Sega or some of these other companies that I think put a little bit more thought into releasing a product that's supposed to be, you know, a celebration of these classic consoles. So anyways, the game selection wasn't great, and that was a bummer. And along comes this company called True Blue Mini, and they have these USB sticks that literally you can just put into the front of it, because the PlayStation Classic had USB ports on it. That's how the controllers worked. And if you booted your Classic up with this, it reconfigured it to have a bunch of these bootleg, pirated copies of PlayStation 1 games. Now, the weird part about this is the names that they chose for these. I don't know why they called these meth packs, crack packs, weed packs. It's so bizarre. And I gotta be honest with you, when I ordered these, you know, they were coming from China just probably about a month or so ago, and I was like, are these even gonna get through US Customs? Because that's all I ordered, right? Can you imagine the custom officer going, this dude in Seattle ordered a bunch of drugs from China. I imagine they bring out the drug sniffing dog to smell my package, but they arrived safely in Seattle, and they actually work. That's the amazing thing about them. And again, I want to be very clear. I'm not endorsing these in any way. These are pirated games. But I guess the reason why I want to talk about it is because the idea is solid, right? It's amazing how well these things work, and it's so kind of frustrating that Sony sometimes just doesn't get it. You know what I mean? Like, this could have been something that Sony did, actually. That's my point, is that it would have been really cool if Sony actually, had some of these game packs of licensed games that they sold to owners of the classic. I think that would have been really cool. But for whatever reason, I think that Sony, I don't know why they do this, but I think that they sometimes put out products, and if they don't do well, or they don't ignite a bunch of excitement early on, they just abandon them so quickly. It's something that we've seen with the Vita and the PlayStation TV and the PSP Go and stuff. It's just they have this history of that, where I think they have interesting ideas, they put the product out there, and then nothing. They just kind of let it die off. And so these are really interesting packs that you can add on to your PlayStation Classic. I mean, each one of these comes with a ton of games on it. The Crack pack has 101 games on it. The Meth pack has 101 games on it. The Weed pack, I think, has 99 or 100, something like that. You see I have this extra one here called Fight, and that has a bunch of fighting games on it. And yeah, it's got 59 games on that one. So it's, there is no shortage of classic PlayStation games to bundle and package this way. Now, as far as I can tell, the company isn't around anymore. At least their website isn't. They probably, I'm assuming, got a bunch of cease and desists when this product was new. If you go to truebluemini.com right now, it's it's this kind of like internet holding site here. So I assume they probably lost the domain. But you can still find their old website if you go to archive.org and look in the Wayback Machine. So all the way back in 2020, it looks like they had a full website up, and they had a bunch of products here. I had no idea. You can see stuff here for, looks like the Commodore 64 and a couple of the other like little mini systems that were out at the time, including another stick that I don't have called the Overdose. Again, what is up with the drug theme here? It's so funny to me. Like, I'm trying to picture in my mind what marketing person goes, you know, to reach the youth of today, we really need to create a product that is just all about hardcore drugs. And also, like, the abuse of it or something, like, you know, I mean, like, why would you call it overdose? It's so weird. But here's another thing I think is kind of funny on their website, where they have this warning where, you know, they basically are saying, hey, our products are quality, and you don't want to use other people that might, you know, be making bootleg versions of their product, because it might damage your system. Like, this is a company that took other people's games but yet they don't want you going out and using some other, you know, theirs. It just seemed kind of silly to me. And as for the games, I mean, they actually run really well. That's the irony of all this, is that these products are actually kind of cool and kind of useful. And you know, for a couple bucks, you just get a ton of them. So, again, not endorsing them in any way, but it is what it is. So, these guys, that's my quick little video of me buying meth, crack, and weed from China. I'd love to know down the comments if you have seen these before, if you have some of them in your collection. Let me know in the comments. And as always, one, thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing. And remember, kids, don't